This is the Ready Set Podcast, and here's your host, me, Joe Persinger.
Hey, how was your last 6 weeks, you fucks? Just a reminder to everyone, the podcast is still available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spreaker, and we are now available on Castbox, Podcast Addict, and Google Podcast. That's right, we've gone to the dark side. It's been a crazy 6 weeks. The water is bluer than a teenager's balls, the mountains kiss the sky like a creepy Hollywood executive, the vegetation is green, it's lush, and the beaches just look just like the postcards. But I'm going to be honest with you folks, when you get away from the tourist areas and the nice beaches, these islands are just a glorified dish pit. Anyway, let's talk about what we've got on the podcast this week. I've got some Red Dead Online and GTA Online updates. We're going to debut the newest segment on the podcast, the Captain's Log, which is going to be passages read out of my Chloe, aka Captain Log of Events. The chicken wars are still in full swing. Tulsi Gabbard, a Hawaiian congresswoman, is playing the long game when it comes to being elected president. And I defend Hillary Clinton for some reason. And in the staff report, I'm going to talk about bananas and impeachment. This is your one-stop shop current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. Are you ready? Set podcast! So about a month ago, I was in the Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas airport. This was the day after I think I did the last podcast, and I said it to everyone that I'm going to try that Popeye's chicken sandwich because it came out on that Sunday. So while I'm at the airport, I landed in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the first thing I did is I had about an hour to kill. So my goal was to find a Popeye's chicken sandwich shop in that terminal of the airport. So basically, I think I walked down the whole terminal and finally found a Popeye's, and walked up, took a look at the menu, and didn't see anything about that chicken sandwich. It was not meant to be, because apparently it wasn't in stock at the airport. I don't know why. Maybe the airports get everything a little bit later. No idea. But fast forward a few weeks later, and then I'm walking out of another Popeye's with a chicken sandwich. And it was good. I really liked how moist and juicy the chicken is. The breading wasn't overwhelming. It was just perfect. The one thing I had that I didn't really like is it wasn't really crispy per se, but the flavor of the breading, the chicken with the bread, the bun, it was amazing. So amazing, I went back for more the next week. But this time, I bought two. I didn't waste my money on the fries and the soda and the whole meal. I just got 2 chicken sandwiches. The smart play. But this time, I was also subjected to the pettiness of the staff at this specific Popeyes. As I walked in, 2 employees were arguing about who knows what, but regardless, my service was delayed, and the experience was, well, let's just say beyond awkward. But it didn't matter. I had 2 chicken sandwiches with no pickles. But as I'm eating the sandwich, I take a bite, and it tastes like rubber. The texture of the chicken is literally almost like a rubbery texture. I mean, honestly, I thought it was raw. Why else would it taste like that? I mean, if you saw the persons making my food, you'd probably question their ability to operate a computerized fryer. But it wasn't raw. It was just a horrible cut of chicken. It tasted like rubbery fat. I don't even know if it was fat. Whatever. It was not edible. The second chicken sandwich I had, it wasn't as bad, but the first one left that taste of disdain in my mouth. From the trashy people that work at Popeyes to the grade E chicken that I'm being served, I'm meh on the Popeyes chicken bonanza. And I'm going to be honest, the best chicken sandwich I've ever had isn't from Popeyes. In fact, this is what we're going to do. We're going to unveil our top 5 chicken sandwiches. And I think number 1 will surprise you. Klaus, can I get a drum roll? Okay, coming in at number 5 on the list is going to be Burger King. Number 4, one of my favorites that I love to throw some nacho cheese onto. be the Fuddruckers chicken sandwich. That's right, the Fuddruckers chicken sandwich. Number 3, which I had as a number 4 with no mayonnaise for probably the first 10 years of my life, would be McDonald's with a crispy chicken sandwich there, which I heard they're coming out with a new one. And then number 2, of course, is going to be the one we've discussed, Popeyes. And the number 1 chicken sandwich on this podcast, Power Rankings, is going to be KFC's Zinger Chicken Sandwich, which came out a few years ago. That is right, 2 years ago, KFC released its Zinger Crispy Chicken Sandwich. It blew the other 4 out of the water. The crispy chicken, the Zinger sauce, that's where it was at. It just had the right crunch to juicy ratio. And it was only available for a limited time back in 2017. So I think that might have been kind of what the selling point for it was. But given what's going on in today's chicken war society, why hasn't KFC thrown the chicken sandwich back into the fast food chicken war fight? I'm really curious about this. Step it up, KFC, and bring the damn chicken sandwich back. All right, so has anyone seen this State Farm campaign commercial thing going on with Aaron Rodgers and the creepy sports agent who happens to be flanked by, some random State Farm insurance agent in a red shirt? Here, I'll play a clip for you. Klaus?
How you doing?
My, how the tables have turned.
What tables?
Well, you have 2 agents, now I have 2 clients. You've met my new Mahomie, Patrick Mahomes.
We're friends.
What?
Is that why we're here?
Well, that's why I brought you here. I don't know why he's here.
Well, Aaron takes his favorite agent everywhere.
Okay, we got enough
Well
of this.
played.
So I believe this campaign started about a year or so ago. Well, either way, by the end of last year's football regular season, I was so annoyed with not only the premise of this commercial, but the very actor that plays the snake sports agent. No one is that clueless and off-putting all at once. It's just a blatant caricature of creative types' promulgation of what they think what evil people look like. Do you want to know what a real snake suit looks like in real life? How about Adam Schiff? Maybe Nancy Pelosi? Dare I say it? Hillary Clinton? The trick is, in real life, you can't see these evil deeds playing out in real time like you do in these commercials or the movies. But anyway, I was so over these commercials. The State Farm guy felt overplayed. Aaron Rodgers is meh in the commercials. I mean, honestly, I think without, who's the guy that played on the defensive line? I should know. Clay Matthews. It was a perfect playoff of him. But since he left the team, he's not in the commercials anymore. I mean, there's no depth to whatever Aaron Rodgers is trying to portray. And I'll be honest, he's probably a needy client. And the snake sports agent guy is starting to get really cringeworthy and overplayed. I mean, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers as your State Farm customer constantly calling you or needing your attention? I mean, the way the commercials play, I'd really hate to be that guy's State Farm agent, because he's not really the State Farm agent isn't making much money as a snake sports suit agent, and I don't understand the jealousy factor there, because clearly the sports guy is going to make... Anyway, I'm getting into the weeds here. But this year with these commercials, there seems to be a shift. Instead of the snake sports agent being the annoying third wheel, kind of like he was in the commercial we just played for you there, I believe that was from last year or earlier. I think that was last year. No, that was earlier this year. The direction of the character seems to be taking on a more sympathetic role. Earlier in this year's season, there was the commercial about the snake agent having a bad dream. And the last few have basically been the snake agent being excluded from the inner circle of Rodgers and whatever State Farm agent he's with, because they've been kind of mixing it up recently. Because they're very inclusive. I don't know, I'm just fucking saying that. So did these fucks, State Farm Insurance, get together with their ad agency and have a focus group kind of thing? Greg, we're going to lose a State Farm account if we don't fix this snake suit guy in the commercial. Yeah, I don't know. The boss said something about a focus group and it's not going too well. I'm telling you, Greg, we can rework this so the agent is sympathetic and we can make Aaron Rodgers the low-key jerk. Put pen to paper and have it on my desk tomorrow. But I'm telling you, that snake suit agent guy is being made to be more sympathetic this year. Who knows? Maybe it's probably just my fucking imagination. Alright, so Red Dead 2 Online has been getting a lot of playtime on the Xbox. I've maxed out the rank on my character's bounty hunter career, and I think I just cracked the level 10 on my trader career, and now my overall level is 66 now. So I'm getting there slowly. And Rockstar last week announced a new update to the Final Frontier. It's called Moonshiners. All you need to be is a rank 5 trader, and you'll be put in touch with Maggie at the Emerald Ranch via crypts in your camp. She will help get your business up and running and get you access to your moonshining shack. Now, there's more information on the Rockstar Newswire, which you can find on their Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter bio. But the best part of this update is that you can also open up your own bar with a dance floor and a band. It sounds a bit similar to the nightclub update in GTA Online, but who gives a shit? It's a great addition to the RD Red Dead Online world. And speaking of GTA, we got a new update for GTA Online, and you want to take a guess what it is? I'm pretty sure I called this earlier in the summer, but it is going to be robbing the Diamond Casino. What do you know? But I got a problem with GTA. I went to play GTA Online, and I was just meh about it. I mean, when you go from playing RD2 Online or a single player, and then you go to GTA 5, there's one thing that sticks out. The graphics. Think about it. Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, about a year ago, and GTA 5 and / Online is about, 6 years old? 6 years! That's ancient by today's standards. I mean, could you imagine playing a Nintendo when Nintendo 64 came out? Your friends are playing, that 3D Mario world, and you're sitting there playing Duck Hunt in a 2D world. I mean, it wouldn't work. And that was one of the biggest striking things about playing GTA Online from Red Dead. It's just the graphics just aren't there. They're old. They're 6 years old. But like I alluded to earlier, the news for GTA Online ends up being about that Diamond Casino. It's going to lead new heist missions, and guess what? I was exactly right. We'll just call it like that. According to Rockstar, you'll work with the Chang family with a diverse range and setup of prep missions to shape and plan your attack. During the heist, there will be multiple paths of approach, constantly changing security measures, and a dizzying array of execution choices on once inside. The overall selling point to this heist mode is that every time you take on a mission, it will have a different outcome. And even if the best plans go sideways, you'll still be able to shoot your way out with your remaining team lives. And that all heist missions will be replayable with different scenarios unfolding each time. So basically, you can go in there and you can shoot it up, and obviously that's going to be harder. But I think the difference is, no matter what, as long as you have lives, you'll be able to finish the robbery. And it sounds like a hoot, to be honest. I mean, it definitely helps people that need to, use randos in a group, like me, because my friends won't play Grand Theft Auto Online. To be honest here, maybe I'll check it out. I might try a few missions. Hopefully, I'll get into a group that is doing an actual heist mission. The GTA Online update comes out December 12th, and the Red Dead Redemption comes out the next day, December 13th. But by the day Red Dead 2 comes out, I'll be purchasing a moonshine shack and continually running booze and animal parts to keep the money flowing. Red Dead 2 is where it's at, online that is. And that's what's going to have the majority of my attention. GTA Online is great. It's the game that keeps on giving. But at this point, I'm good on all that new content. Just keep updating Red Dead 2 Online and just start working on GTA 6. All right, well, we'll be right back after a few words from our sponsor.
Tell me something I don't know.
Uncle Joe's Lemonade. Hand-picked lemons from the organic brick-and-mortar corporate giants. It's hand-squeezed like Robert Kraft in a Miami area massage parlor. A drink so refreshing, it quenches your thirst faster than a virgin in a whorehouse after overdosing on Viagra. Sweet like the girl next door you tried to sleep with, and tart like the girl who took your virginity in an embassy suite hotel while your friends drink the night away in the other room. We use the freshest local ingredients and apply an old family recipe that was stolen from the Egyptian tombs during the Victorian raids of the 19th century. Ethics? What ethics? We're making lemonade, bitch. Uncle Joe's lemonade. It's sweet. And now, back to our show.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know. Yeah, tell me.
All right, let's get to our new segment, The Captain's Log. Hey, we don't use typewriters anymore. A feather pen, parchment paper. What is this, the 18th century? I mean, I can see a submarine off the Kona coast. There's an airplane flying over the island. Ah, that's a lot better. And one more thing. I'm not at the beach. I'm in the brig. I'm in my cabin. I mean the brig. I mean my cabin. Anyway. Captain's Log. Day 1. Kalui, Maui. The voyage through the northern part of the southern Pacific is paid off. I've arrived in Maui. It's mid-afternoon and the weather is just like Florida. Humid, sunny, and well over 80 degrees. As a local shepherded me from the seaport, we rounded a bend in the road, and the first thing I noticed were the mountains that overlooked Kalui. They stretched into the air, reaching for the sky like a Democrat and impeachment. The middle mountain peak stretched the highest and was kissing the clouds like a proposed Sanders or Warren economic policy. My arrival to the ship was overwhelming. I was immediately lost and had no clue where I was. If you need a visual reference, check that Baker Mayfield commercial, progressive commercial, where he's wandering around the stadium. That was essentially me. The bathroom I used on the fourth deck looked like a neglected one-horse town off the side of the highway gas station. And might I mind you, this bathroom was right next to the mess hall. The group I started on the ship with is cool. I had to walk around the ship with one of my managers so I could be shown how to escape from the ship in case of an emergency. However, if there was an emergency that night, I probably would have died. Again, see the Baker Mayfield commercial. I was then handed a giant brown bag containing my linens, which really felt like what a prisoner gets when they get there. And I was sent down to my brig, the cabin, to put the big brown paper bag of linens, blankets, and a pillow away. Our group had meetings until 8:15, and then they took our TWIC cards to make copies of, so I was unable to leave the ship. We're in port until tomorrow, so it's fucking bullshit I'm unable to leave. My bed is made, my bags are packed, and I have yet to meet my roommates. As they lay on the top bunk and stare at the roof of the brig, my cabin, I start to second-guess my decisions that led me to the top of this bunk bed. But knowing me, it's probably just because I'm annoyed and I'm stuck here on the ship in Maui, in the brig. My cabin. So let's say there's a contest for building houses, and I'm building a house, and I only have maybe a year and a half tops to build it from scratch, from the ground up, and let's say it's my first foray into said contest. But there are other parties in this contest who have, a head start on construction. Some have prefabricated walls set aside so they can assemble their houses more efficiently. Some have, all the subcontractors lined up, they're paid, they have plans in place with their construction crews ready to go with multiple teams also ready to execute. So when things start, they can just go at it. Others have their house from previous contests and are continuing to, build on top of that foundation, if you will. But I'm still at the point in the construction process where I have yet to still dig a hole in the ground. But is 12 to 18 months enough time for someone new in this contest to take on powerhouses that have been in this contest multiple times? Realistically, unless I'm catching lightning in a bottle, there's no chance in hell I'm going to win this contest against some of these older people. Can you guess what I'm talking about yet? So the best I can do in this situation I find myself in is to build a solid foundation for this home by the time this contest ends and before the next one begins. And to add to my long-term strategy to win this contest, the next time around will be not only to have a solid foundation, but to have the infrastructure to build the rest of the house using unions, subcontractors, American-made parts, and even discussing my building plans with factions of the corporate media my fellow competitors fail to use. And this is basically Tulsi Gabbard's long-term campaign strategy. And as a Republican, you've got to respect the path she's taking. She has appeared on Fox News. She's been on Tucker Carlson's shows numerous times. And for the second time this year, she's appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast, and most recently, flanked by Jocko Willink. Now, out of the group of Democrat hopefuls looking for the nomination, Gabbard has been polling at a paltry 1-point-something%. Outlook, not too good. But by talking to Fox News and its viewers, by talking to Joe Rogan and the wide demographic his show covers, Tulsi is using her platform to expose herself and campaign to Fox News Republicans, moderates on both sides, as a moderate Democrat who can build her foundation and later her house, aka her campaign, that is meant to withstand the incoming storm of a general election. Oh, sure. Warren, Sanders, Mayor Pete, all of these candidates have houses that can withstand the Democrat primary hurricane that is about to be bestowed upon us. Joe Biden even has one house that is built out of recycled parts from the one Obama built 8 years ago. Is that right? Oh, God, longer than that, 11 years ago. But there's no way that trash heap will survive. But whoever does survive won't survive beyond that. Talking specifically about this group of candidates, whoever comes out of that general election is going to get mauled by Donald Trump. Basically, Trump's going to get the leftovers. Now, going back to Gabbard, she's got a smart strategy. She knows she's not going anywhere this year, but if she focuses on building a solid foundation, do you see the theme here we're building, folks, for this contest? The next time this contest gets going again, i.e. a general election cycle, she'll have a leg up on her party. She'll have name recognition. She'll have exposure to moderate and more right-wing Republicans. And if she comes out of a Democrat convention as the nominee in 2024, she could actually have a shot at siphoning off Republican votes and becoming the 46th president of the United States. And I'll add one more thing before the paper toss. In the 2024 election, if Gabbard can snag that nomination and Nikki Haley can also grab the Republican nomination, we will have the first ever woman versus woman president campaign general election. But I wouldn't bet on it. Okay, so no, hell has not frozen over. What you're about to hear is a cobbled bunch of words I never thought I would utter in this election cycle. Are you ready? Here it is. I'm going to defend Hillary Clinton. Yeah, I know. Recently, the former Democrat nominee was on the legendary shock jock Howard Stern's radio show and was a little candid on a few saucy subjects. And I'm going to be honest, it's probably the first time I've ever seen this cyborg robot of a human being show any emotion. She opened up about the election, her media availability approach versus Donald Trump's media strategy, and for some reason started graciously talking about how she lost.
Look, if I had lost to a normal Republican, I would have been unhappy.
Right.
But I wouldn't have had that pit in my stomach, like, what the heck? What is going to happen? What's he going to do next?
He's going to win, baby. He's going to win. I mean, sometimes the Democrats are right. I really think about Donald Trump that he's lying because, he said by this point in his presidency that I'd be sick of all the winning. And I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not sick of all that winning. All right. Anyway, where was I? Now, what I find really interesting about this is, where was this human side of Hillary Clinton, 3 years ago? Clinton was so stiff back in 2016, even Bill was jealous. No, I wouldn't have voted for her, but she seems, what's the word, pleasant? During the interview, Clinton dismissed rumors that she has engaged in lesbian affairs while in college. Not even tempted was how she phrased it in her quote. Wait, Greg, did you hear that? Whenever a leftist says something remotely damning, another leftist gets its wings. Oh, my bad. I meant their feathers get ruffled because they're opportunistic fucks that understand this is their moment to strike to get attention from a desperate media, or most likely both. They're too sensitive to hear someone else opine their difference of opinion. NBC News, or one of the political communication arms of the Democrat Party, oh, sorry, my bad, that's redundant, sought someone to refute Clinton's comments. And it didn't take long because they found her. And the fake news piece that was written by NBC goes on to say, let me look it up here. Okay, here we go. So reporter Trish Bendix, who has won the 2015 Sarah Petit Memorial Award for Excellence in LGBT Media and is a member of the National Lesbian and Gay Journalists Association, didn't appreciate Clinton's response to Howard Stern's question. So hold up one second. This person is supposed to receive credit from me because she won an award almost 5 years ago in a small niche of the journalism gay community? And I use that term journalism quite loosely. No pun intended. Okay, a little bit. So in other words, she's just your average outraged gay person living in a Democrat urban enclave. This lady obviously watches MSNBC on a daily basis. Anyway, what did our 5-year-old award winner become so outraged about from her old former leader, Hillary Clinton? Quote, "It's so frustrating when public figures like Hillary feel the need to dispel lesbian rumors in a way that equates lesbianism or queerness with salaciousness, and that's ultimately what I dislike about the way she phrased it," Bendix told NBC News. Bendix said she was specifically bothered by Clinton's use of the word tempted when shooting down Stern's questioning. I think there's a way, this is what Bendix goes on to say, I think there's a way to refute untrue ideas about one's own identity without saying something damaging to others, unquote. Okay, let's start with the first quote. No one is trying to dispel anything. She was asked a question and in her boomer brain, she answered it. I know this may be hard for some of you fucks out there that are about 25 years of age and younger, but life existed before you did. And back in the 90s, which was Clinton's glory days, well, the Clintons' glory days, I should say, on TV, sitcoms, all forms of drama, movies even, this was the attitude toward queerness with female baby boomers. It wasn't uncommon for a character development twist to entail a quote such as, well, you know, back in my college days, my roommates and I got a little drunk and we might have experimented. Don't ask why, but that became like a cliche in a lot of character development. Character I can't even fucking talk today. Character development that was written back then. But it was a step forward. Our mainstream society, progressive Hollywood, was now acknowledging that these things happen in our society and that this group of people do exist. I mean, if you go look, in the 50s, 60s, gay people weren't even acknowledged in TV. And if they were just the foofy, really frilly, effeminate guy. They just didn't acknowledge that the guy was gay. He was just, I'm doing a little hand movement there. I know you can't see it. We're not. Anyway, moving on. And as for the last quote that Miss Bendix made, quote, I think there's a way to refute untrue ideas about one's own identity without saying something damaging to others, unquote. What the fuck are you talking about, lady? Saying that you weren't tempted to do something isn't anyone throwing shade or bestowing some kind of metaphorical stain on your choices in life. If you take that PG-13 rated quote by Hillary and attribute it to saying something damaging about you and your way of life, I'm fucking scared for you. I mean, what happens when you meet someone who thinks that show you watch on Netflix is dumb? Or that they're not tempted to watch it? Are they going to receive the same vitriol? Obviously, there's a parallel I'm attempting to draw here, but I'll leave it at this. If you keep looking under your bed or in your closet for the boogeyman, eventually, one day, you will find him, or her, or it, or shim, maybe she, he. Anyway, I think I've made my point. All right, let's get to the staff report.
In my hand, I hold the staff report.
So earlier this month, some concept artist, and I use that term extremely loosely here, took some duct tape, a banana, and taped it to a wall. So what? Well, this concept artist, quote unquote, called it art. And of course, it ended up in an art gallery. And if that's not enough, going so far as to claim this art concept took him almost a year to come up with. What? You mean you're trying to tell me that this artist and the concept that came along with it took almost an entire year to execute? 1 year to take a banana and tape it to a wall. It took a year to come up with that idea and concept. You can go fuck yourself. And if that madness isn't enough, someone paid $120,000 for the duct taped banana art concept. Art, whatever the fuck it's called. How much cash do you have that you can drop 6 digits on something you can make at home for less than $4? I mean, what? That might even be less than that. I'm assuming duct tape's around $3 to $3.50. And bananas are 60 cents a pound. So we're right in that $4 range here. And if that madness makes your head spin, another so-called artist went into the art gallery where this duct tape banana art concept existed, sauntered past the velvet ropes because at this point the whole thing had gotten so much media attention, ripped the duct tape Ripped the duct tape off the banana, and to a stunned crowd of pompous, rich, hipster doofus fucks, ate the yellow piece of fruit, was taken away by security, and wasn't even charged with a crime. And this is an external parallel metaphor for the impeachment fiasco we have going on in Washington. Oh yes, I know you've been waiting to hear what I've had to say about this subject. But I think it's obvious what my opinion is on impeachment when it comes to Donald Trump. So I'm going to zoom out and discuss the matter on more of a broader scope. So it's obvious that this is a hit job on the president. It doesn't really need to be said beyond that. The Democrat leadership doesn't have any faith in the current crop of presidential candidates. So the overall strategy is to bloody him up before the election to give the eventual Democrat nominee something to run against the president on. And even as we speak, they're already trying to delegitimize the process going on in the Senate because they're basically trying to argue that what Trump did with Ukraine was interfere with a U.S. election. Therefore, he can't even be trusted to run in this next general election. Therefore, if he gets elected again, it's an illegitimate presidency. Politics is dirty. But I want to talk about something else. Another situation that can arise from this impeachment and the petty politics inside the Beltway. So the Democrats want to impeach Trump, knowing that it's all for naught with him being acquitted in the Senate. But it's worth it if he doesn't get reelected. Okay. Let's say that the Democrats get their wish and a Democrat wins the White House. It doesn't really matter who wins in that scenario, or in this scenario we're speaking of specifically, other than the fact that it's a Democrat. So if you're one of these Bernie Bros, Warren Warriors, or the Third Reich, or in Joe Biden's Bridge and Pinochle Club, no one is doubting your tribe leader's ability to run a shitty campaign. I just want to throw that out there right now. So let's just say a Democrat wins the White House. But the overreach in impeachment leads the Republicans to taking back the House in 2020 and still barely holding on to the Senate. What do you think the next move is going to be? Other than making fun of a neutered lame duck president. We all know that Washington, especially Congress, is a very, very petty place. So I could open up a whole new side discussion on petty politics in Washington, D.C., dating back to George Bush being handed the election in 2000 by the Supreme Court. But the short end of it is that the left hasn't forgiven the Supreme Court for doing so. And again in 2004, when the Electoral College failed the Democrats, which they still whine about to this day, there was this mistreatment of Obama after his election, which continued into his second election. So when Trump got elected, it was kind of odd to me to see Democrats pivot and turn into the very thing they called evil from 2008 to 2016. And then there's Merrick Garland. Oh boy, did the Democrats get screwed on that one. And they've been waiting in the wings to get revenge on Cocaine Mitch for screwing them out of that one judicial nominee seat. And, that revenge is a two-way street. Let's go back to our imaginary world where a Democrat beats Trump in 2020 and the House goes to the Republicans due to the Democrats overreaching and letting the Democrat factions on the fringes hijack the party. Whoever wins the White House will be walking on ice for their whole term. Sure, the press will act like the moat in front of the castle. The Democrat bureaucrats embedded into the intelligence agency will stop leaking. But if that White House Democrat executive, farts or stares at the Freedom Tree the wrong way, the Speaker of the House Intelligence and Judiciary Committees will be the first to write up multiple broad-reaching articles of impeachment. And is this how we Americans want our upper echelons of our federal government working? Are we going to devolve into a nation of petty politics being driven by a bunch of rich baby boomer geriatrics who are unable to let go of the little power that they have? I have a hard time telling the difference between a retirement home and a Capitol building. I mean, maybe they are the same thing, only one of them is making decisions that affects you directly. Anyway, all this pettiness creates stalemates. It creates laws that don't get passed because each party wants to win. Congress can't agree on a spending bill, etc., etc., etc. So here we have one party acting out of desperation because they lost the election 3 years ago and can't fathom losing again. It's extremely petty and only bolsters other bigger nations like China, puffs up Russia, and gives the world the perception that the United States is in turmoil. This whole impeachment and re-election fiasco reminds me of something. It's like someone took a banana, taped it to a wall, calls it art, sells it for $120K, only for it to be eaten by a guy who claims to be a performance artist. And in the end, after all that media coverage, all that drama, the guy wasn't even charged with the crime or even found guilty in the end. By the way, it was also noted that the performance artist was just creating a stunt. So it looks like there probably wasn't a buyer. If there was, the buyer was in on it too. The whole thing was a media stunt. I think everyone sees where I'm going with that. All right, well, I wanted to talk some Chicago Bears, but we are out of time, and I got no more room in the staff report for anything else. So we'll get to that disastrous debacle of what should be a relegated football team next week.
We're trying to get a feel for how people spend their day.
The staff reports.
So that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for listening to Ready, Set Podcast. Check us out on Spreaker. Give us a like and a follow. Check us out on Facebook. Check out the Ready, Set Facebook page. Give us a like. Also, feel free to leave a comment. Rip me on the page. I don't care. We're also on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review. It helps get the podcast out there. We're also on MixCloud and YouTube. Don't forget, we're also on, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and Castbox. This is your one-stop shop for current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. Thanks for listening. Please share the podcast, and we'll see you next week, you fucks. Thanks for listening to the Ready, Set Podcast. Check us out next week, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and look for us on our YouTube channel, Ready, Set Podcast.